party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know!
We're dedicated, yes!
To our favorite shows!
Oh, my tickets!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad!
Scary dog!
Blurson and Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting Premier Podcast TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is Resident Alien, brought to you by the good people at Jocko Productions, Universal Content Productions, Dark Horse Entertainment, Amblin Television, and the Syfy Network. Part 1 of Season 2 debuted on January 6th and concluded on March 16th. The second half of the 16-episode season will debut sometime in mid-2022, provided we don't have yet another delay in filming as we've had for the past few years, for I don't know what reason.
Knock on wood.
Hello. Speaking of which, I am joined by two resident aliens. First, she started this journey with me. We looked at the comic. We did season 1. She is back to do more. She insisted because she cannot get enough of me. Don't you understand? I said to Alexis Hejna of Honeysuckle Rose Creations, I said, Alexis, why don't we wait for the whole thing to unfurl itself? And we can talk about the whole season all at once. And she said, no, Mark Radulich, I must be on more of your shows. I must have more of your time. We must do more. There must be more. And so I said, I shall listen to you. So here she is to discuss half a season. Alexis Hejna, how do you do, madam?
Knocking on wood got the dogs overly excited. I don't know if you heard them barking in the background, but apparently knock on wood also means potential person at door.
That is what dogs interpret that is. Speaking of things dogs interpret, a man who found out we were doing this and drove his car in and said, I'm here. I want to be a part of it. And then I completely forgot about it. And he said, I'm still here, dumbass. Ladies and gentlemen, from our Canadian office, David Wright. How do you do, sir?
Woof, woof. Yep.
Perfect.
That was new.
And David, let me stick with you.
The dogs are interpreting.
I was going to say, what is that? How they speaking up in Canada?
Yeah, I bark with an accent.
Bark a boot. Bark a boot.
Yeah. Bark a.
At least you didn't bark with the same accent that the one actress who played the gallery owner. I guess she's a French-Canadian actress because the whole time she's talking, I'm like, what accent is it? It's French-Canadian.
David, you didn't get a chance to talk about season 1. Just kind of, you wanted, all joking aside, you wanted to talk about season 2. Clearly you liked the show. Did you watch it when it came out? Did you watch it after? Were you inspired by our first review? What brought you there, and what made you decide this, of all things, at the end of all things, is something I must talk about with Mark and Alexis?
Yeah, this one avoided my radar completely until I listened to the last podcast, and it's like, wait, what? Comedy show about alien trapped in a small village in Colorado, played by Alan Tudyk? How did I miss this?
It's a really good question, considering you're my sci-fi guy.
Yeah,
I was
that
going
was
to
some bullshit.
say, as we say every time we talk about the show, the world needs more Alan Tudyk.
It does. Such a treasure.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of season 1?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I pretty much agree with everything said on the last podcast, so I'll avoid just repeating everything.
Works for me. All right. So when we last left season 1, Harry was headed back to his planet. He was assigned the task of killing everybody on Earth, but he had opted not to because, he had changed his mind. He had met some people, I think especially Asta. He was like, all right, I'll just leave. And so when he leaves, though, he ends up, he has a stowaway with him, and it's the mayor's son, and that's where things leave off. When we pick up again, they've now crashed the ship, and a fairly big part of season 2, Alexis just deals with what to do now that he isn't leaving. I was really surprised, and this is the first thing I think we can talk about. I was really surprised how quickly they just wrapped up the stowaway thing. It was like he saw the kid, they crashed the ship. He eventually reduces the ship to silver balls that can do magic. And then a lot of it seems to be, What am I going to do now? Do I kill these people or don't I? And that is the first arc of season 2. Him, I guess, coming to the conclusion that he still eventually, if he doesn't do it, his alien race will eventually come to Earth and do it for him. So instead, he's just trying to save himself and Asta. What'd you think of all that?
Not surprising for me that they wrapped that up, because I seriously doubt the show had the budget to show his home world.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, no, we're gonna go back on Earth here pretty quickly. It is kind of interesting how quickly. I guess it also makes sense to wrap up pretty fast how they were able to cover the ship and get it turned into those silver balls. Remind me, oh my god, what's the name of that J.J. Abrams film that takes place in the 50s with the alien? What's it called?
It's not Super 8, is it?
Super 8.
Super 8, yeah. You like how they find all those little like Rubik's Cube like things that end up kind of rematerializing into the ship. That's kind of what I was getting the impression of with the silver balls. But I do think it's a good thing they wrapped it up quickly, because how many episodes can we get them reusing the same concept of someone's using the baseball field, we got to get them off the baseball field? It would have gotten very old very fast.
Yeah, agreed. David, same question. Again, the first part of this is Harry trying to figure out what to do with himself, and then deciding he just has to save him and Asta, and then Asta telling him, "No, stupid, that's not how this works. If I can't have my family, then you might as well kill me too." And I have to say, and this does go into one of the things I did want to talk about tonight, is how well season 2 balances character development amongst its primary cast. Like, this doesn't feel so much like Alan Tudyk's show anymore. This now feels more ensemble than anything else. So go ahead and kind of speak to those things as you will.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised by how quickly they got through all the preview material for this. Like, I thought it would be an entire season of Harry building a bunker under his house to save Asta, and laughing maniacally about everyone else dying. But that was over and done in the first sort of couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Then it switched more into, I need to message my people to stop them from coming to finish the job I didn't complete. But I was glad that they sort of wrapped that up within one episode, having the ship dematerialized, and now Harry's stuck on Earth and has to make his peace with that. And then number 42 explains, like, your people are coming back. So he switches to, okay, I need to build a bunker to save Asta. And like for all the complaints that we get about how terrible writing is in a lot of shows these days, it's nice to see those that actually do still have good writing. And I think I saw an interview with, the name is blanking on me, but he was Tom Paris in Voyager, Robert Duncan McNeil, I think. He's like the director, producer of the show. Mm-hmm. And he's sort of saying, like, we sort of view it more as just like a show about a small town in the Colorado mountains that's just people dealing with small town stuff. It just happens that one of the people happens to be an alien hiding out on Earth. And
it's funny you mentioned that, because didn't you watch Eureka?
I actually did not watch Eureka. I think at that point I was like, if it wasn't in space, I wasn't really that into sci-fi.
Okay. Alexis, did you ever watch Eureka?
Mm-mm.
So Eureka had a very similar thing. Eureka had a very similar thing going on with its show, the way that David's describing Resident Alien, where Resident Alien very much was focused. If season 1 was very much focused on Alan Tudyk sort of figuring out how to live on Earth and getting to where he was very mission focused, and then having that bond with Asta, nearly dying and being saved by her, and then deciding he has to go back to his home world, and that's the whole season. As it progressed, season 2, as David is saying, was more about just the town, people living in that town, and the fact that he was an alien was sort of ancillary to it. And that was how Eureka was too. The first season was very much, scientists doing evil sciencey things, and the sheriff having to, despite the fact that he's not a scientist, trying to figure out what the scientists are doing. And, he was always being viewed as rather dim, but being, smart enough to foil the evil science plots. As seasons 2, 3, and 4 got on with Eureka, it became very much about the cast and the character studies and their relationships, and less about, there was still a little bit of that, but it became less about law and order, but with, scientists. And I'm wondering what you think about that. Like, did you like the fact that there was less of a focus on Harry and his machinations in the season, and there was more sort of shared screen time with the other actors and their individual romantic stories, relationship stories, just dealing with very human stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with an alien hiding amongst us?
Absolutely. We've talked before about other shows that really work hard on building up the other characters and establishing more about them. The one that comes to mind immediately is Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. We talked about how so much of the later seasons really don't, Sabrina is still the main focus, but we learned so much about her classmates and her friends and her family. Similar thing here. We're learning so much about the other characters. Now, we did learn a decent amount about them in the first season, mostly Asta and her father. But now we're learning more about the mayor and his family. We learn a ton about Darcy, who is a really fun character. Hell, we're even getting development out of the very bitchy nurse, Ellen, who is freaking hilarious. I just love how nonchalantly she wins the pepper eating contest.
There's a lot of funny stuff with her. When she's the babysitter and they're trying to lull her to sleep with nature sounds and whatnot. And, they're sneaking out of the house. And I think she was just like, okay, we'll just be back early. And she's like, oh, you're a terrible babysitter.
Yeah, it's like, be back before your parents get home and don't do drugs.
Yeah. The other, they have to replace Harry as the doctor in the town clinic, David. And I remember laughing pretty hard at, when the doctor messes up and reads him the wrong chart. They're like, okay, this has got to stop. This has got to come to an end. She's like, yeah, I've already taken the liberty of eliminating all the candidates we can't use. And then it's like, so here, just hire Harry back. Like, she cracked me up in that scene.
Yeah, she has her moments. I think my favorite was when I think it was either Darcy or the mayor's wife, where she's hungover the next day, and Ellen just goes, yeah, as a medical professional, I have to tell you that this is really unhealthy for you and you should stop. But as someone stuck in this shitty-ass town, next time call me and bring me along.
That was Darcy. Darcy got drunk, walked into a tree, and nearly got her eye poked out by a branch.
Let's talk about let's break up this discussion. Let's talk about some of these character arcs and relationships. Alexis, you and I talked about the sheriff last season, how much neither one of us were particularly in love with that character and what an ass he was. It was almost like very cartoony. And by the end, he's at least softened on the deputy. He starts treating her like a human being again, because she almost quits and walks out on him.
His arc to share with the deputy.
So this season, you start to get a little bit of that again, but I think they did an excellent job. I really enjoyed his story. And like, he was very one note in season one. He was just kind of a dopey dick. And, and then the deputy threatens to quit on him, and he softens up just a little bit, just enough so she'll stay. But you don't ever really get a sense of, beyond him being sort of comic relief, what use he is to the cast. Here, this whole season deals with why he's in this town, why he's the way that he is, why he treats her the way that he does. They really fleshed him out and gave him an interesting story. Specifically, they talk about how he told his partner, who is his best friend from childhood, to run up the stairs and go through the front. He was going to go through the back, and the guy was gunned down, and that he was struggling with survivor's guilt, among other things. I genuinely, like, that actor, I don't know what all changed. Maybe the material enough changed him that I could appreciate the performance more, but he was stellar this season, and one of the high points, I think.
Absolutely. And one of the things I love so much, not only just about him, but others, is that most of these characters are comic relief, but still able to get really serious scenes as well. We get the amazingly powerful scene with the sheriff talking about his partner getting shot and how close they were, and how
this is when she's handcuffed him to the bench, right?
Yes.
Okay.
After she went to get Froyo. But then we also get the hilarious scene when he comes in, when the elderly doctor has numbed his entire arm. He's like, what can I do with this? And he knocks everything off the table. So, deputy, you're going to have to write out my police reports. It's just so over the top.
Yeah.
And that's something the show does very well, is that you care about these characters, but they're making you laugh. It's very rare to have a show that gives that spreads out the comic relief and still is able to give them serious roles. So many shows we watch, it's like they have the comic relief and they're just the goofball.
Yeah.
They may have one or two serious scenes throughout the season, but that's it. This show does that really well.
What'd you think of the sheriff this season, Dave?
Yeah, I think the first season it focused a bit more on Harry. I think it was doing a lot more sort of setting up things, and a lot of what the characters are dealing with in second season is dealing more with some of the after effects of Harry's presence, even if they didn't know about it. Like again, you have the sheriff and the deputy now are investigating the murder of Sam and then Harry, and and they're getting more closer onto that there's an alien in their midst. At least the deputy is. So we have that going through, but yeah, and then we have this added on where we're fleshing out the characters more, getting more into their backstories. And what I really appreciate about this is like millennial writers, for some reason, they seem to like to give every single male character they write who isn't evil trauma. Like they're always dealing with something.
Well, as TikTok has told me, we've all been traumatized.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Everyone has had stuff they've had to deal with their life to one degree or another. Some more serious than others.
Sure.
But I appreciate that.
I'm definitely being somewhat facetious.
Yes, like while he has trauma,
Really?
He's still able to do his job, and he is working through it. Like we get the feeling that by the end of this half of the season, he is in a better place than he was at the beginning.
Yes, he actually has movement. He has the date where the date's pressuring him, like, why do you work here? And he blows up at her because he's not quite ready to talk about the partner. He's got the bit with the 2 cups of coffee, which comes across as him just being a dick to the deputy again, but really it's him processing his grief and memorializing on the anniversary of the guy's death or whatever it was. But he has conversations with his father that really flesh him out as a human being.
Yeah, like it's just so much now of just this sucks, everything sucks, nothing's ever going to get better, people are awful, so on and so forth. And this is like, no, like, yes, things can suck and life is hard, but you can get better. You can work through this stuff, you can make friends, and we can help each other and get through this. And I just I like that they added that to that character, because like you say, he was just kind of just a big dick in the first first season, and now he's like, oh, he's a person.
Yeah, they just made him kind of a dope. Like, how did you get to be the sheriff? You can't solve any crimes, and like, oh, he comes across more competent this time. But
at least he doesn't ask anyone to call him Big Black in this season.
Yeah, I about had enough of that. Thanks for reminding me. I had actually forgotten. The deputy we talked about, Alexis, in the first season was, just too mousy for me, and and lacking in spine. And then she finally has her breaking point. Here, I thought that, again, one of the things I have a difficult time with television is these characters progress in one season, then they have to regress a little bit to start in the second season. You're like, they seem to be regressing because there's a tacit acknowledgement by the writers that there has to be growth, but they never they never seem to pick up where we left off. They always have to go, they always have to sack the quarterback for 10 yards.
Sorry, sticking my throat.
Yeah. And start with
I was actually thinking Mazikeen from Lucifer.
Yeah, that's another good one, where they never start these people where we left them off. They always drop them back about 10 to 20 yards, and they have to then make that up for the first part of it, and then they progress. And it drives me a little crazy because it's like, you have to give a reason, I think, for there to be solid writing for these people who have regressed, and they never do. They just suddenly woke up. They went to sleep in season one way. They woke up worse somehow, in season 2, and nothing had happened. But what I liked about the deputy this season is, while there's a little bit of that, she still maintains her dignity that she gains from the first season. And here, again, she's not just the mousy, put upon, bullied deputy. She's an actual person. You meet her boyfriend or husband or whatever he is. She's shown to competently still be able to solve crimes. She's the one that figures out that Harry's probably an alien, or at least there's an alien afoot, before that all gets dealt with, so that they can keep the mystery going. But she actually has some very genuinely nice conversations throughout the season. The one on the park bench with the sheriff being one. There's a couple with the other women as they go out throughout the season that I really, really liked. So I came to truly appreciate the deputy. I'm just going to add this one thing. I know Harry and I think Robert and I have talked about this in the past. It's like sometimes they present women in a way where they're just like they just kind of dress them down, and they made her look kind of dumpy in the first season in Mousy. And here she has a couple of scenes where, she's just out in regular clothing, and like that actress is deceptively attractive looking when they actually dress her up and dress her nicely and not just kind of throw a potato sack on her. I was nicely surprised. So what do you think of the deputy this season?
They do expand her character a fair bit. I like that they're kind of making her a bit of a UFO nut. And they're actually explaining why. It's not suddenly out of the blue. She's apparently always kind of been one, but it's just recently that things have started to be a little weird. It's kind of reawakening this interest that she has. And I really like that. And I do like her relationship with the others. It's kind of, we see a little bit more this season that a lot of these characters grew up in this town together. Yeah. You see that camping trip. It's Liv and Asta and Darcy and Ben the mayor. Ben is the mayor, right?
Yeah, I'm terrible at remembering names in this show, but
I'm trying to remember.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and they were all kids, and they all went on this big camping trip together. And it's so sweet. And it helps establish a little bit more that they have been through so much together. So when you see the girls hanging out, it's not just, they just grabbed all the female characters that they have on the show.
They have a women get it done moment.
Yeah, exactly. No, they actually have a reason Liv would be hanging out with Darcy and Asta. They grew up together. They were kids together. They still have this great camaraderie. And I really like that.
Thoughts about the deputy, Dave?
Yeah, again, I love that, like, not just the deputy, but all the characters. Yeah, they don't regress. They start off with the advancement from the previous season, and then they can keep going. Previous season was all about her standing up to the sheriff and asserting herself and sort of getting that respect that she deserved. And this season now it's more her sort of being more open to the world, where like she's sort of coming out with her. But what if aliens? Okay,
let me ask you a question about that. So there's a whole there's like a subplot where, and they did, I don't know, it felt like they didn't really do anything with it. Like, you think they're going in this direction. I'm talking about the budget. There's this whole thing that they do where they're looking at the budget and they're realizing that there's this wage gap between the men and the women. And they're trying to figure out why. And then I think Darcy just like throws the copies of the budget out, from a helicopter in the sky. And then it's like,
obviously nobody who wrote that film or wrote that show understands how much it costs to rent a helicopter for an hour.
Nope.
Yeah, but we get a freaking MASH homage. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, it was fun. I was just me who works in aviation. I'm like, okay, yeah, she's broke now.
Okay, I wasn't much focused on that, Robert. What I was focused on was the fact that they don't give you any real reason why the budget is what it is, and then it was kind of a step 1 collect underpants, step 3 profit moment for me, where it's like, we have a problem. The budget's out of whack. Men get paid more than the women. Missing reel of footage. She gets a raise and buys a new car. And I'm like, like. Did they not have, Dave, enough material for season 2? Like, I know they expanded from, I think it's 10 to 16 episodes, and I'm like, in the writing of this, did they just not space things out? Did they run out of stuff to say? And they're like, we need to go back and add more. I don't know. Let's have a women get it done moment. It seemed superfluous to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a note. It felt a little inorganic to the story being told. Yeah, I know you kind of want to have your girl power moment where all the girls get together and they do something of note, but yeah, I could just kind of like, okay, well,
what's the note? The women don't do enough in this show. Too much Harry. We need the women doing shit.
We need to address the gender pay gap or something like that. I don't know.
Seems like a strange place to put your feminist agenda. I'm just saying.
I thought it was going to come back in when they started talking about building the resort, and they were going to talk more about, it's like, well, wait, you've got the money for a resort, but you don't have money to fix the wage gap or something like that.
Yeah, the resort thing seemed to just be, and we can transition to talking about the mayor and his wife now. That all seemed to be just set up in detail so that we could have a big blow up with the mayor and his wife at the end, because they're keeping secrets from each other, and there's this undercurrent of tension that sort of explodes at Harry's birthday party. And that's it. That's the story. That's the whole use of the resort thing. The guy who plays the mayor is pretty funny this season. I don't remember why Darcy kissed him in season 1, but they're still dealing with that. When they finally do address Darcy kissing Ben, I thought where the wife was going and the kind of stuff she was saying, Alexis, that we were going to have like a ethical non-monogamy situation going. Like, I don't care if you like sleep with this other woman. My care about it is that you don't tell me the truth about anything. She doesn't quite say that, but boy, are they glancing at it from across the room. It seems like almost like that was somebody's initial right. They were like, no, for God's sake, we can't do polyamory and Resident Alien. Do something else. It just the whole thing seemed rather odd to me. But yeah, the whole thing with the mayor is he's another one that sort of lacks a spine at times. You know, like there's that whole scene with him and Darcy hanging out at the house while the wife and the kid are away, and he's like, I can put up a sign, I can move the coffee table, I'm asserting myself as a man, just so later on the wife can be like, yeah, I'm not happy either. You know, and I wish we talked more. On the one hand, I liked that they gave them something to do and argue about. On the other hand, it kind of, they're sailing along at a certain altitude, and then the plane just lands, and they're like, there was no cruising in, it just drops to the ground.
The mayor and his wife definitely suffer the most, I think. While they do have a bit of growth in this season, it seems more that they're just setting up how these two have the most dysfunctional relationship in the entire freaking town, starting from the fact that season 2 starts off with them having the most awkward sex scene since Tommy was so.
I think that was intentional.
I was like, it struck me as comical, but comical for the sake of creating laughter.
It mostly just made me go, oh my God. Especially to see what they got the ball gags in their mouth and they're both crying.
You prude.
I'm not a prude. I'm just going, yikes.
I'm sorry. I didn't at one point one of them to get out of saddle.
Yeah. Actually, I think at that point I said, wow, you really don't know what you're doing when it comes to that. Wasn't me being disgusted. That was more just being embarrassed for them.
That's not how you use that, madam. I was having secretary flashbacks during that scene. I laughed hard. But yeah, I mean, like taking something like BDSM and being comical about it strikes me as very funny. So
yeah, no, that part made me laugh, but it was more making me laugh just how embarrassed I am for this couple. But I'm just gonna say this: I'm hoping they actually do address this as in season 2, that the mayor is a freaking idiot for passing up the whole murder town, UFO town thing. I travel for a living. I have been to so many towns where they are banking on things like that. They love having haunted house tours, UFO sighting tours, Bigfoot sighting tours. They love this kind of stuff. And I'm like, and he keeps going on. I was like, no. I don't want them to be knowing this. I'm like, okay, if you open a resort and you start advertising patients as a UFO town, you are going to get so much tourism. It's going to be ridiculous. You are going to see the biggest boon. Because sci-fi nerds love shit like this. And we pay good money for it. Right, David?
The mayor and his wife.
Not really my scene, but I get what you mean. Yeah, he's very focused on the sort of picturesque family destination image for this town, where it's more like, maybe you should be going another direction with this.
But you say that, and meanwhile he writes the musical about the 59, I think it is, or whatever.
Oh yeah. You thought the sex scene was awkward and embarrassing. That was the moment where it's like, I mean, again,
my leg.
Yes, them having kinky bondage sex, in white people awkward ways, didn't bother me.
Yeah,
however,
I watched that scene and I just figured like they probably just in the writers' room just like, okay, throw out random little snippets of a crazy BDSM thing to make it sound like that these people are doing some like silly, crazy experimentation. Like, okay, got it. Like it's what you don't see that you kind of you get the image of what's going on. But yeah, when you have like a bunch of like elementary school age kids,
I don't have a brother or
my
a
uncle's
father.
my daddy now.
You see the horrified faces of mothers in the audience.
The one mother who goes up and gets her kid playing the boulder, and she's just like, you're not part of this.
Just how tone deaf, and I'm not talking about the music. That was and yeah, it's funny, but also so horrifying.
It was good stuff. Anything else about the mayor and his wife? I liked the fight they have. I'll tell you what, I like the fight they have. Everything finally comes to a head. They have this argument, and the argument is essentially over secrets. As we all know, all three being married people, if you don't communicate with your spouse, you're going to create more problems than whatever it is you're not communicating about, is generally speaking how things go. Like if you just deal with stuff directly, it tends to work out better than if you don't. And that is a big part of what the mayor, and you feel free to disagree with that if you want, but that's what the mayor and his wife are arguing about for the most part. She's talking about, and boy, is this true for middle-aged women, so psychology tells me, that the midpoint in someone's marriage, there's sort of a lack of fulfillment for the woman who feels like I put off my dreams and I put off the things I wanted to do so that I could do what was supposed to be asked of me as a woman, to be a wife and a mother. And now that I've done all those things and I look back and I look at my life now and I go, I am not fulfilled. This seems to be a common enough thing. And I definitely have heard people talk about that before, the way that she is. And he is sort of struggling about being sort of henpecked in this marriage and feeling like emasculated. And they're butting heads about it because they never talk. And then they finally do, and they end up having sex in the bathroom. And I kind of felt like, you didn't really resolve it, though. You addressed the fact that they aren't talking, and they finally do talk, but nothing got resolved. And then they just had sex, as if the writers go, we don't really know what to do with this. We just wanted it to end.
Well, that was the joke. They say, we don't talk about this. We just end up having sex.
And then they do.
Yeah, so that the joke is that's like, okay, we're going to talk. We're going to talk. We're going to get this out. No, we're just going to have sex.
Yeah, I think that was done more just for, comedic effect at the time of all this crazy stuff is chasing an alien human hybrid baby around the party. And the mayor and his wife are having, crazy sex in the bathroom.
Very descriptive, loud sex.
Yes.
But to the point of them just not really, they finally acknowledge that they're problems, but they don't really do anything with it, and it kind of bothered me.
It's kind of like just step one of solving a problem is admitting there is a problem.
Yeah.
So they've kind of at least gotten to the point. It's like, okay, we have problems. We need to deal with these problems. But right now, let's have crazy fun sex because the script says so.
Like I said, I think this is setting up more of the dysfunction with them because again, it's like they acknowledge they have a problem, but they're not taking the steps to fix it. Because they fall back onto the bad habit of just having sex.
Yeah. Well,
wow. Yeah.
I can't imagine there being another part of this. I can't imagine there's going to be another part of this discussion. I'm going to want to make a TikTok, so I just want to write that down. on women's general dissatisfaction with marriage 10 years in. Go.
I just celebrated my 10-year. Well, actually, 5-year wedding.
Tell us how dissatisfied you are, Alexis. This is a shit. No, just kidding.
I am not dissatisfied.
Congratulations.
Are you kidding me? I have my dream job of being a professional artist. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
But I think it's kind of interesting that you have like the mayor who's in the more prestigious position, yet he's very insecure about like his place in his marriage, his place as a mayor, especially having to be in competition with the whatever it is, the other town, Jessup, the Shelbyville to their Springfield. And
tell me I'm not the only one who wanted to smack that mayor during the conversation they had at the Jessup about the water thing.
Oh, the water thing is so good. Our water is describing the water, and it's like, it's just fucking water, man.
It's water, yeah.
Yeah, and then calling the wife Mrs. Mayor, and she's like, I actually am a lawyer, and I have a PhD, and it's just like, wow, it's like, seriously, put that asshole in his place.
Yeah. When we go into the again, I forget her name, the mayor's wife character, where she has all these degrees, like she's like she is probably more qualified to be, in the higher position of the two of them professionally.
Mhm.
And she's sort of bumping up against, I'm the mayor's wife, whereas I could go to New York and be so much more, but I gotta take care of my kid, and now I'm having another kid, and this, like she's looking at her life and going, is this right for me? Should I have taken the other path, and so on and so forth? And it creates an interesting dynamic between the two, and I think you sort of have, when she was away, the mayor sort of having that rekindling of the old flame with Darcy a bit. I mean, to his credit, he never crosses the uncrossable line. Like, it was just, we hung out, like we kissed a few weeks ago. She stayed the night because she was drunk, but nothing happened.
Yeah, it's like she didn't choose really to spend the night. She fell asleep, and he didn't move her.
Yeah, like if it was we slept together as opposed to we kissed, then I think that conversation, when it was all out in the open, would have been very difficult. But I can totally understand from his perspective. It's like, I don't want to have this conversation with my wife because she could blow up at me, and but then again, like it's the honesty.
She's less mad about the kid. She's less mad. I wanted people are gonna be like, what is he talking about that he just yelled women get dissatisfied 10 years in? Like, no, I read it in an article, and I just wanted to put the article on screen. I'll take it down in a second, but for anyone wondering where I was getting that from, literally read it in a Psychology Today article within a few days ago. Why being in a long-term relationship can make women more depressed. Ta-da! All right, I'm done with that now. Psychology Today, everybody, read it. Anywho, she's like, it's not the issue that you kissed her. Shit happens. People kiss. I'll get over it. Why you choose not to tell me these things? You have a woman sleeping in our son's bed. Maybe address that directly instead of hiding it like we're in an 80s comedy. And I think she has a legit gripe there, Dave.
I agreed totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm trying to remember, there was a show, I can't remember which one it was, but they talked about how something casually had happened, and it's like, well, I'm not going to tell my spouse about it. But by not telling them about it, it becomes more of a big deal, and it feels more like you're trying to hide something. If if Darcy had just come downstairs when she got home, and he'd been like, she came over, we got a little drunk, she fell asleep, I didn't want to wake her. She
revealed that she hid weed in our son's room when it was my room 100 years ago. Like, just come clean, because the wife seems pretty chill otherwise.
Yeah, the wife knows that Darcy and Ben, and they all grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that, they have, she knows that Darcy and Ben, dated and apparently slept together in high school.
Right.
So it's like, but and I'm just going to say, you keep talking about him feeling emasculated. The dude was afraid to put up a live, laugh, love sign. Emasculation too late.
Yeah. But I do appreciate, like, I mean, I like it when characters make intelligent, rational decisions, but I also appreciate that we're human. We don't always make intelligent, rational decisions, and I don't have a problem with that in shows so long as it makes sense for them to make those bad decisions. Like, I understand where he's coming from when he's going like, I don't really want to tell my wife. I mean, yes, we're all sitting here going like, this is the wrong choice.
Sure, as a man, it would be difficult to tell your wife I kissed this broad. We get it.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. And other than some of the comedy elements, like, things do feel more natural with how the characters react to their situations and the decisions that they make. It's never just we need this to happen, so this character is going to make this thing now. Like, all of a sudden Tyrion has to be an idiot because this war has to last 2 seasons.
Before we move on, we've spent almost 40 minutes talking and talked nothing about Harry and Asta.
Yes.
We probably should get to that in the show about Harry.
It is a credit to how good they've developed the characters outside of Harry and Asta.
Yeah, no,
getting to it.
It's like, Mark, we need more time. Mark, we need more time to talk about the psychology of married women.
And another thing,
that's the focus of our show now, right? I need to make new graphics for this, right?
Yes. Every show now has to discuss polyamory and ethical non-monogamy. It is the ethical non-monogamy in broadcasting network.
Yeah, but I guess
the ethical non-monopoly.
I guess since we are going to start going into Harry and Asta, like,
before we do, for the love of Christ, if you're having trouble with your ethical non-monogamy, you should get Grammarly. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively.
Yeah, can't spell or pronounce monogamy.
You probably do need Grammarly.
If you're struggling with ethical non-monopoly, Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. It'll even help you with your Bumble profile. To download Grammarly to download Grammarly.
You know, I found out that apparently Gunnar and Andrew, among others, like, I'm sorry, did you have to
let me finish my plug, and then please tell me about your friends' dating profiles. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M Network to download Grammarly for free to help you with your dating profiles to find loose and fun women on dating apps. Now, go ahead. Where are the men that you're friends with finding loose and fun women on dating apps?
Oh, they're not finding fun stuff on dating apps. I was bringing up the fact that apparently every time a certain somebody mentions a certain stupid joke on a certain other podcast, it has become a running gag for among others to start looking over at me because it's like, okay, he said something stupid and Alexis reacts. That is the new thing apparently over on MCU's Bleeding Edge.
Are your reactions like very big? Do you start juggling cats?
If I was some cats, I could juggle on the next one.
Would you please? Like if
we can't juggle Eddie and Cleo. Eddie weighs 30 pounds. Cleo weighs 80 pounds.
Here's what I'm going to need you to do.
That's not illegal.
Because Jeff's going to make a successive amount of increasingly uncomfortable sex jokes throughout the show. Like he makes me positively seem like the preacher from fucking Midnight Mass.
Yeah, the most recent one was we were talking Moon Knight, and I said, I don't know how many of you study archaeology or Egyptology. To which he said, I study gynecology. To which I went like this.
Okay, so that's what you're talking about, that kind of reaction. I'm going to need you to go bigger and more ridiculous with each successive joke. So like, start with something maybe like fire eating, end with ending, juggling chainsaws. Figure it out.
I don't even own a chainsaw.
Work with me. I'm gonna need a successive buildup of circus acts. David, speaking of circus acts, let's talk about Harry and Asta. I forget why he isn't working at the clinic anymore, but Harry just does. They
got a replacement doctor. Like he was always a temporary.
Okay.
Yeah, he made it clear. He made it clear when they started the season. He said, "I'll serve until you guys can get someone else."
He does a lot of hanging around, but that's to leave him free to go do other things. First, it's to deal with his ship. Second, it's to build the bunker. Third, it's to rescue 42. Fourth, it's to find more people like him in New York City. And then we're into, the second half of the season where we're going to deal with the government that knows there's aliens and is trying to do something about it. We have the whole, they don't do a lot with Linda Hamilton, but she is there doing stuff this season. They build a little bit more on Harry's relationship with Asta. And I think the high water mark for writing in this show, I mean, it's a well-written show to begin with, but I think the best scene that they have is the one where Asta basically threatens to kill herself. Not really, because she had grounded the electricity, so it wouldn't have killed her for real, at least in theory. I'm not an electrician. I don't know how any of that works. But she presses like the little button thing that you have on electric light sockets. But her whole thing is basically to get Harry to understand the importance of people in your life. That is the whole point of her and Harry's relationship this season, is to get him to evolve to a place where not only seeing individual people in the human race as valuable and worth protecting, but seeing the human race in and of itself, good, bad, or indifferent, as something that doesn't need to be utterly wiped off the face of the universe. And she drives that point home by saying, if I can't have the people in my life, life is not worth living, which I think is something we would all agree with. Life is hard enough as it is. It's even harder when you have to go through it completely alone without a social circle. And certainly that's something I think a lot of people that resonates with people who may have been isolated during the pandemic. So I think the show does a really, really good job of bringing all of those things in thematically and dealing with them in a dramatic way that's appealing for the viewer. What did you think, Dave?
Yeah, first season was very much Harry makes a friend in Asta, and that's what motivates him to not wipe out the human race because Asta is part of the human race.
Yeah.
And second season's more like, okay, you've made a friend, now you need to sort of see the value of like community, or
Yeah.
Try making another friend and another friend. Like,
Right.
let's work on the concept of family, and like, the sort of very basic behind the scenes of science fiction is it's really about humanity, about people, about the now. And it kind of infuriates me in a way that this show is very much Harry bit by bit resentfully learning to understand what it is to be human, and slowly even develop kind of a grudging appreciation of that.
Is he not emblematic of a portion of our society that is awkward and kind of aspy spectrumy, and it's just has a hard time relating to humanity and having to be pushed along, into embracing said humanity?
Yeah, and they've been very clever in that making the alien like society, life cycle, whatever you want to call it, very, very different from humanity. Like, he even sort of points out, like, our babies are self-reliant from the time they are born. They've got teeth and claws. They can feed themselves. Human babies are helpless and floppy. Most funny observations, they also do have a degree of truth to them,
right,
which I find so funny in that, this show, which is essentially a comedy about, a goofy alien on Earth in a small village, tends to say more about what it is to be human, about the issues that we are facing, than a lot of like the highbrow, hoity-toity, expensive science fiction shows, Star Trek Discovery. With all their
I thought you were going to say the other one we did in January on Apple TV, whatever that one was.
Was it Foundation?
Foundation, yeah, that's where I thought you were going with that.
Has some things going for it, but yeah, both have empty, pretentious monologues that just seem to be, we need to sound smart. Like, all humans live with ghosts. No, we don't. This isn't going anywhere. It doesn't have any relation to the story here. Whereas Harry's monologues tend to actually have a relation to like what he's dealing with, what he's trying to understand. Like, sort of the big moment with him is, when one thing I really like is they go into the forest so he can build his transmitter to tell his people not to come and destroy the Earth
for 50 years.
Yeah, it's eventually revealed that he says for 50 years so that Asta can live the rest of her life, and all of her friends can too. And they would have 50 years to work up, the next stage of the plan. But like, there's that moment where he sort of just walks out of the campsite and he meets up with a buffalo just randomly in the forest, and he kind of does this like psychic hand thing on the buffalo. And you sort of like, Harry sort of says like, has a sort of point goes like, human beings are not being very good to the planet right now. Like, the planet would probably be better off without us, sort of that environmental point. But then you have Asta saying, no, like, there is actually value to human life, human experience. Yes, we are flawed. Yes, we're messing up a lot right now. But, again, we can do better, and we should have the chance to do better. And then we get to the bit where, it's revealed that he does the 50 years thing. But, I understand where he's coming from on that. And, it does address those issues, but it's not just, global warming bad, humans bad.
Yeah,
racism bad, sexism bad. What else? That is all I need to say.
Let me jump in here for a second because as you're talking, I want to draw a comparison to something, and you might go, "Wait, what?" I kept thinking about Joker, and how they're using the character of Joker to illustrate and speak to the deficits in social contracting, at least in American society. We are letting people in need, people in crisis down. And if you let it go far enough, it'll show itself in very violent ways. That is what Joker was about. But the other side of that is why so many people identified with it. And you had this entire community of people who feel isolated and disenfranchised, glomming on to the Joker movie and going, "Oh my God, finally a movie that speaks to me. It speaks to the issues that I have and what I believe, and it's saying it in a way, in an environment where other people can hear it too, because God knows I don't feel heard." That sort of thing.
Yeah,
and then we just had a Best Picture nominee. Like, all right, calm down.
Yeah, and we just had like a 5 to 10 minute conversation about being a housewife versus a career woman and the mental effects of that. Like, I like how the show actually does kind of dive a bit into these things, despite also being a funny comedy where you get to see Alan Tudyk giving CPR to a rubber octopus.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think, and I'll pitch it over to you, Alexis, for a response. But to close out that point, so people understand.
I just have one final thought before we move on, if that's fine.
Yes. Me, you, then Alexis. The connection I was making was just like Joker, but in a very almost like silly and comedic way. The show really does kind of look at what's going on in the culture right now. What can we talk about? What can we say about what's going on from person to person? Okay, that's going to be our theme. But then we'll have Alan Tudyk doing silly voices and making funny faces and and giving mouth to mouth to an octopus. And that is to the show's writing's credit, David.
Yeah. So I think like the pinnacle of the season for like Harry and Asta is after that point where they have that falling out, you have like they go back to the reservation and Harry even says I like these people, like this sort of more close to nature lifestyle. I mean, to get into like the diversity and the history of various First Nations, Native American groups, that's just way beyond this podcast and way beyond my understanding of things, but it works for what the show's doing it, and they get this moment where like I forget who it is, but one of Asta's relatives, she's having a baby, and you just see like everyone's in the room doing their own bit. They're all holding on to her, they're comforting her, they're letting her get it out, and it's just this huge celebration of welcoming this new life into the world, into the family. And I think they even have the one cousin that went to the big city, and he's now this sort of like hipster, millennial. Indian, and then you have him come back, and they're like saying, we keep the umbilical cord in this pouch to sort of keep them from wandering too far away from us, or something like that. And you even get a little emotional moment with that character, sort of reconnecting with his family roots. And where I'm all going with this is you get that moment afterwards where Harry says, when you told me about your daughter not being with you, I said, don't worry, our young, aren't raised by their parents. It's like, now I understand why you feel guilty.
Yeah.
And it's that moment of understanding something very basic and very human.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a funny alien.
Absolutely. Like I said, it has a lot of very human resonant points that also speak to the very real things people deal with. But it never forgets to remind you that it's a funny comedy on the Syfy network. So, Alexis, we've talked a lot about Harry. We've talked some about Asta. I just want to bring up this one point for you to also throw into your response. Asta has a really great dramatic moment, not just the scene where she's trying to convince Harry not to kill everybody. Again, and fakes killing herself with a toaster. But also, after the child is born and she's overwhelmed by guilt, and she falls back briefly into the arms of her ex-abuser, to the point where it drives a wedge between her and Darcy. I said to you in the first season, she is a surprisingly good actress for somebody who hasn't had a lot of big time roles, and most of her roles were small time TV. She does a phenomenal job in that sequence.
She really does. And I'm glad that they didn't try to write it that she was going to get back together with Jimmy. She goes to him because he is Jay's father. He knows how she feels. She knows what he went through. And she is really hurt. She wakes up the next morning. She's like, oh, God, why did I come here? And she knows it was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I was so terrified at the end of that episode that they were going to write this, and she was going to be like, well, maybe I can get back together. Maybe he's changed. Like, no, thank God they didn't do that. It does end for a really great bit with her and Darcy, with them at the pepper eating contest. I love that she's just trying to show her up and eat the peppers. I love the attention to detail. She gets the Ziggy Stardust lightning bolt on her face for face painting, and then they just cut to her midway through the pepper contest, and she is sweat the whole thing off. I love little bits like that, but I just got to say, we're talking about giving mouth to an octopus. Can we talk about one of the greatest death scenes of all time? Nathan Fillion as the voice of an octopus saying that his dying wish is to be eaten with a light butter sauce.
And a glass of wine.
Okay, I'm a sushi fan, but
see
I'm
it
not a
afterwards.
huge octopus fan. Do either of you guys eat octopus?
I mean, not
I
even
have
calamari.
That's
Calamari
good.
squid.
I understand, people. I'm saying that's the closest I've gotten to octopus.
Yeah, I've never seen somebody outside of oh god, what's that Old Boy, where I've never seen someone just eat straight octopus. So yeah, just watching Alan Tudyk eat that it doesn't even look like it's like totally cooked. I just see tentacles on a plate. But
And
the
he
one
is
time,
enjoying it too. I
just love this scene, and I actually am trying to figure out. Sahar is in the room when when the poor octopus is being attacked, and I could not stop laughing at just hearing that poor thing just get going. Whoa, hey, with the dog attacking him. But you hear them talking, and I don't know if Sahar could actually hear the octopus talking to him or not. So for all she knows, he's just having this mental breakdown over a freaking octopus.
It's a weird scene, to say the least.
But it's hilarious.
What'd you think of, speaking of Harry, I loved the episode or two that deals with his daughter. And, obviously that's not her real dad. Earlier in the season, you find out that before Harry killed him and took his body, that he was doing some nefarious dealings with the mob or something. I totally get what the deal was there, but
more information is yet to be given.
Yeah, we got a serious mystery going here. We got a corporation that they were stealing through, and they ordered the real Harry to kill Sam, the doctor whose death started the whole thing at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And now we're finding out more that this may also have ties to a group of other aliens who are already on Earth. Because I refuse to believe that the alien with the side blinking eyes thing who kills the one agent in front of Linda Hamilton's character, I refuse to believe that he is not also tied in to this business. It's like they're setting it up too much. This whole thing has to be connected. Hell, it wouldn't surprise me if Harry actually knew about the other aliens.
Just real quick on the daughter. I think it's only the one episode, but I like that, despite the fact that this isn't the real Harry, that Harry is now trying to find a way to sort of mend his relationship with humanity, one individual relationship at a time. And so partially to maintain his cover, but partially because he has developed some human feelings, not the least of which are guilt. So he is compelled to try to make it work with this kid who's obviously had some stuff go on and feels disengaged from her own family, the way that she talks about Harry and her dad and the mom. But I thought it was some really sweet scenes. Like I love in the beginning where he just doesn't know what to do with her, so he's making a lot of really dumb mistakes, and he's like, "I am sending you to your room without supper," and she does something snarky and leaves. And then at the end, they kind of have they hit a breaking point, but it's one of those funny tension breaking points where they start throwing water balloons at each other, and then everyone's in on the act, and they all push each other in the pool, and isn't life gay? It's great. I enjoy it.
You also have them laughing hysterically at the horribly inappropriate Miners song.
Yeah.
Which I think was really cute because it shows that, she doesn't care that it's horribly inappropriate. She's laughing, and Harry doesn't understand human interaction enough to go, no, don't laugh this. No, he's laughing too, and they bond over how stupid that song is.
Yeah, I thought it was a very sweet episode. I thought it was very handled well. It resonated a lot with me being a dad. So anything else about Harry, Asta, that particular episode, any other episodes you want to talk about, Alexis?
I do want to talk a little bit about the New York episode.
Okay.
Otherwise, AKA, why you don't give an alien LSD.
Go ahead.
First of all, I do love how they start off. He's still recovering and he's doing his monologue, and but the drugs are interfering with the monologue. It's like, there are so many humans, all the colors. That was hilarious. No, I do like how they set up the whole thing with the egg. Although I guess I'm trying to understand. Do the species fossilize themselves when they procreate? I
remember. I think Harry said that when they give birth, I think the the pregnant one dies in order to give birth or something like that.
Okay, because he does say that they usually lay thousands of hundreds or thousands of eggs. I don't remember how many zeros.
Really worried about 129.
So he's worried, obviously, why there's just this one egg, because that's not the way that it's like, no, it's supposed to be a lot more eggs. But I do love how uncomfortable he is in New York. I love when they go into the pizzeria and Asta's trying so hard to be subtle, and he just walks in and goes, I want a slice of pepperoni and I want to talk to the alien. Again,
Yeah,
that's always
that was a very New York pizza scene.
That's always one of my favorite bits with Harry and Asta, when Asta is trying so hard to be subtle and she's really trying, because she's still adjusting to the fact that her friend's an alien, and Harry's just like, screw it. No, I'll deal with it. And he just walks in and says what he needs to say.
I do like how they just use like it's New York, so anything exposing him as an alien is just viewed as another day.
Yeah, it was very Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was like, oh my God, what's that? The 6-foot turtle. You need to get off on Broadway? You know?
I've been to enough Comic Cons. They would see that and assume, yeah, it was just a dude. I swear, they would just assume. I think I said the same thing about the season of Lucifer with when they mention all the angels out of disguise and in the open. It's like, they're just going to assume
having a barbecue in the park.
Yeah, it's like, no, we all think they're weirdos. We don't care.
Yep.
It's LA.
All right. That's really all I wanted to talk about. I mean, the kids are cute and everything. The Muslim girl is always funny. And her dopey friend who is the son of the mayor. But I that's not for me a big discussion point. So, David, I'll give it to you for anything else that we haven't talked about before we wrap tonight.
Yeah, it seems like they're cleaning house with the government subplot because I think they've killed off 2 of the members, like the the really hot agent with the pretty eyes. They off-turned one episode.
The psychopathic one who last season.
You say psycho, I say hot with pretty eyes. Same difference.
I need to remind you, first season, if we can't get into the alien spaceship, has anyone tried dynamite?
Again, not sure what we're talking about here.
I like that they did off her because I just thought she wasn't really that interesting of a character.
Nope, definitely pretty face with really really pretty eyes, but again they made her big strong woman who don't need no man, and then they killed her. Like, cool.
Well, they just make her kill everyone.
Psychopath. She was happy killing people in the first season. There were multiple times she killed someone, and the other agent's like, "What? That wasn't necessary." And she goes, "I don't care."
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, and it's sort of like you get to the point where it's like she's making such a mess that. Like what they needed to do is just have like one moment where like she just coldly murders someone with some reason for it, and you just realize like, oh crap, like she can kill just about anyone and she has no qualms doing so. So that makes every scene that she is in have more tension. Whereas now it's like, yeah, of course she's gonna kill him. Like, why did she kill the guy in the pizzeria? What did he know? That needed to be silenced. It just kind of it's like if you've ever seen No Country for Old Men.
I have not. On my list.
I don't know the name of the character, but like the hitman, where he's just like having like
Javier Bardem's character.
I think so. Yeah.
Dude with the bad haircut and the coin flip.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and like when he's like talking to like the gas station attendant and he's like flipping the coin, and the gas station attendant's just like, I'm just talking with this guy, and you and the audience knows like this man is just one step away from dying, like one coin flip away from the end, and it's terrifying. That's what that character should have been in this show. Is when she shows up and she's talking to someone, it is like stone cold, like you are in fear for that character's life. Like, are they going to get it right? Are they going to say the wrong thing? And she's like, no, she just kills them anyway, no matter what. And then I appreciate how they used that later on in the show where, Asta gets back into the train and Harry's just like, she tried to kill me and I murdered her. Did you bring my ice cream bar? And she's like, oh, what am I going to do now? And then we have it at the end where Harry's having his telepathic conversation with Goliath's personality and the baby, and we get the information that there's a new alien race that's trying to take over Earth, and it's so powerful that even Harry's people are afraid to mess with it. And before we get more information, he gets shot by one of the conspiracy corporate guys, and then Asta shoots him in his defense, and you can see that she is shaken up, that she has killed someone. But now she has killed someone in self-defense, just as Harry killed Psycho Girl in self-defense. And I think that's going to play into where her arc goes from now on, is like her sort of, because she's always been like, no matter what, no killing. And now she's like, well, I killed someone with justifiable reason.
That Darcy walked in on and saw the dead body. So even
yeah,
though she doesn't know anything about the conspiracy, she knows her best friend just killed someone.
Yeah, who shot Harry? Like Harry,
you know what that means, right? We're due to get a stupid episode next season, a very tropey, very hackneyed. You mean Harry was an alien all along? I feel betrayed. You didn't tell me this.
Well, it depends if Harry just shrugs it off, or if he reverts to his partial alien form, or something like that. Like, he was only shot in the shoulder. Like that is like an official good guy location where they're incapacitated except for the ability to do complicated martial arts, operate heavy machinery, drive cars at unsafe speeds, and so on. So I don't know if they're going to do the reveal to Darcy that Harry's an alien just yet. They might play around with that a bit more, but we'll see. But it leaves, it's a mid-season finale, but it leaves us with definitely there are some things left on the plate to go with. We've got freaky alien baby running around, and
all right.
And yeah.
Alexis, in 50 words or less, what do you expect to see in the second half of season 2?
I'm with David. I don't know if they're going to reveal to Darcy whether or not. I have a feeling they're going to just cover this up, and Darcy's going to be under the impression that someone attacked Harry and Asta saved him. I think if they had planned to reveal to Darcy that he was an alien, we would have gotten a little bit more of clues that they were going to drop that bombshell at the end of the season, or at least something would. Darcy notices something about Harry, just like, I don't know, maybe she knows his blood's a different color. She's like, oh my god, Harry, why are you bleeding blue, or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe she gets like, Asta, something's wrong up with Harry. Maybe you shouldn't hang around with him, and then you knew the whole time.
Yeah, I just really hope they don't do the whole memory wipe thing that they did. I get why they did that with the sheriff and the deputy. I get that got us out of a pigeonhole and a plot element that we really couldn't deal with the foot. But I don't want it to become the Deus Ex Machina for so much on this series. I want them to come up with another reason to assuage Darcy of what happened.
To their credit, the sheriff and the deputy do eventually notice that, hey, there's a hole in our memory, and I will
say this though, I got very emotional when he implanted a memory, and and it's really, he has this whole like line about, if I'm going to give him a memory, why not give him a pleasant one, which I thought was, I don't know, it's unethical to mess with someone's mind that way. It's an assault. On the other hand, what a lovely memory he got, and how thoughtful they gave it to him. I don't know. I'm very conflicted about that bit,
but it's interesting.
It is interesting. All right, folks,
and it makes sense.
So, that wraps up our Resident Alien Season 2 Part 1 discussion. We will resume review when it debuts later on, probably, I guess, in the summer to early fall. We'll hit it again. I'm sure we'll all be back for Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. All right. That also wraps up our week here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. We reviewed Joey Janela's Spring Break Parts 1 and 2. We reviewed Ambulance. That was myself and Ronnie Adams. We also re-aired our Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find It review. Alexis, Robert, and I reviewed Sonic the Hedgehog. Jesse and I just want to apologize to everybody. If you tuned in for our first episode of our TV party series on David Simon shows, which we're calling From the Corner to the Deuce, The Great Works of David Simon. Dude, my bathroom flooded. My wife was trying to plan stuff with her friends, and she was texting me in the middle of the show. We got off late because Jesse and I had to have a long talk about some stuff. That show was just a mess. We eventually get to Homicide and have a halfway decent discussion about it, but I was on Neptune for most of it. So if you're like, what is with this show? We thank God for Jesse, because this was not... Last Saturday, I did a UFC thing where I was half asleep through it, and I had to keep stopping my camera to get up and walk around, throw water on my face because I was going to pass out in the middle of the show. This one, I'm having to get up and go deal with a flooding bathroom and a pissy wife, and all kinds of stuff was happening. Jesse, consummate professional that he is, held it together. He is the glue. The glue, I tell you, that kept the Radulich and Broadcasting Network going, at least on our review of Homicide, Life in the Street, Season 5, which was David Simon was a story editor on. So it was the first season on the big list of things David Simon has worked on over the years that we will be reviewing over the next 2-3 years. Anyway, so that's that. And this weekend, we will be re-airing our review of Inferno from the Dan Brown series of movies starring Tom Hanks. And in theory, if I get home in time for it, myself and Dan Lasby will be doing an alternative commentary for Errol Spence versus Eugenius Ugas. And then next week, Sean and I will be doing a review of Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets, John Carter, and Barbarella. 3 science fiction movies, 2 of which were based on French comics and 1 on a series of books. Then we'll have our review of The Secrets of Dumbledore, Fantastic Beasts. We'll be joined by both Mr. and Mrs. Teasley, which I'm sure will be exciting. It's the anniversary of the Deepwater Horizon disaster from BP from a few years ago during the Obama administration. So we're going to re-air our review of the movie about said disaster starring Mark Wahlberg. In the evening, we will be reviewing Ghost Impera. And then on Thursday, David, you'll be back. I started watching it. It's moderately funny. Star Trek Lower Deck Season 1. Also, Alexis, I haven't started watching it yet because it only comes out, I think, tomorrow or last week. I don't remember which. Green Eggs and Ham, the second serving.
Oh, it's already come out.
Yeah, it was last weekend, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I just haven't started watching it yet because, like you, I can't watch multiple shows at the same time because then everything starts blurring together.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're talking about Darcy getting drunk with Sam I Am.
Which would be an awesome show.
Yes,
I would like to see a cooking show with Sam I Am and Darcy.
Yeah, then Harry's interfering with the fight between the Ukes and the Zooks.
All right, David, did you want to plug anything real quick? I know you got Lower Decks coming up, and then like May is David Wright month. We have 87 shows coming up.
If you like me on this network, you will enjoy May. If you don't like me on this network, May is going to be rough for you.
Every one of us gets at least 1 month where Mark decides we have no other social lives. We exist solely to promote this network.
My goal is to get people to stop asking me to do shows so that I overload you in 1 month. Like, all right, I'm good for the next 6 months. Good.
As Mark mentioned, Lower Decks, end of the month, and I do believe I'm on trivia this weekend for Magic.
Yep, that's Tripped Up Trivia. We record this Saturday. The theme is Wizards and Magic. Mr. Jesse Starcher and I are hosting. Yeah, I couldn't run that show without him. He rocks. This is all to Doctor Strange 2 coming out soon in theaters. If I see one more post about Tom Cruise as the alternative Iron Man, I'm going to lose my collective mind. But we're going to have a lot of fun with the trivia questions. So those who are interested in playing but probably can't make it to the Saturday on short notice, May's Tripped Up Trivia will record in a few weeks, and the theme, as always, for May is sci-fi for May the 4th be with you. And we're always looking for contestants for that.
Why don't you just do Star Wars, just strictly Star Wars, since it's May the 4th?
And miss out on doing a bunch of Star Trek questions?
Fair enough. Make sure you grab Andrew Orozco. I think he has like a Star Wars show.
Yeah. David, did you? I know you've been on and off trivia before. Did you play Sci-Fi Month with us last year?
Yes,
David,
I won.
I was going to say,
That's
David,
right.
that's like David's show.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Sorry, it was a year ago.
I can't remember mostly what happened this morning, so...
He's like your
I
ringer.
do remember the Jonathan Franks question, and I think you were the one who said, hell yes, very loudly.
Yes, that was my favorite question on that.
All right, Alexis, go ahead and finish your plug so we can get out of here.
All right. So other than that, my company, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We are back on the road, back to the convention circuit. We just did Lexington Comic and Toy Fair. A lot of fun there. Next weekend is Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City. This is our home show, and it also is the 10-year anniversary. Planet Comic-Con was the very first convention we ever worked at 10 years ago. This is a big event for us. We are so excited. Week after that, we're in Springfield for Vision Con, small little convention, but always have a lot of fun there. Following that, we're in St. Louis for Fan Expo. And after that, we're heading out to Hutchinson, Kansas for the official Smallville Comic-Con. Those of you who may not know this, Hutchinson actually has designated itself as officially Smallville, Kansas. This is a big how to do for Superman fans. If you're in the Midwest, come on and head out. We're going to have so much fun. As always, our stores are fully stocked on Facebook. No, I'm sorry, on Etsy and handmade at Amazon, but you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. That's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us here on TV Party tonight for Resident Alien Season 2 Part 1. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, or if you listen to traditional audio, we're on every podcatcher. Please like and subscribe. Even leave a comment. It helps us out greatly, and we appreciate you for doing it. I really don't care what the comment is. I just want you to leave a comment. It could be a recipe for rabbit stew. We're fine with that.
Maybe
All
it's
right.
how to spell Malagali.
Fuck you. Be well, be safe, and behave.